Hi everyone, my name is Vijay Chindu. I'm from CSC AAML branch. I'm going to explain about practices and tools for software startups. Software startups have become increasingly important to the economic and are a key to innovation. However, these companies face many challenges such as balancing short-term and future needs with respect to technology, processes, and tools. A typical startup follows 3 and 4 stages, namely initiation, stabilization, growth, and an optional initial public offering. Initiation is the time from the initial idea toward concept of the product and a first sale. The stabilization phase begins when a customer receives the initial product and lasts until the moment the product is stable enough to be sold to a new customer without causing overhead in product development. The growth phase shapes the prerequisites for stabilization and ends with a decision point towards being acquired or getting new capital and thus evolving to a normal small or medium-sized enterprise. Most startups terminate within the first 2 years for various reasons, mostly because the market is not behaving as it was hoped, the product was immature, or there was simple not enough competence. One hidden obstacle is within the development practices and tools, which not only hinder product evolving but might also create so much hassle that teams fight their software more than delivering new product. Sometimes the growth is too fast and necessary software decisions are postponed to a point where the product explodes. Netscape was an example of an overly successful startup that eventually failed due to insufficient software practices and tools. Software startups survey. As to be expected, a clearly majority of 86% of the startups indicated that they have had to adopt agile methodologies into their software development process. Agile methodologies allow for delivering value to the customer in a shortened development cycle with constant customer feedback. This is corroborated by a recent study that mentioned more than 70% of software startups adopt agile methodologies. Startups like utilizing agile methodologies as it is the best method to survive in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. Scrum can be easily adapted and scaled by embedding the existing processes that cover functional safety and system engineering, software architecture, and testing in the Scrum team. The risk of a ad hoc IL is high, and Vector Consulting faced many client projects in which IL was seen as anything goes, which is deadly sin specifically for startups. Thus, rules for critical systems in Scrum should be developed and strictly applied. Definition of done should be only exit criteria, which is an layer of process expectations. Team meetings are key to success to IL, so transparency and participation should be ensured. To ensure consistency of product across domains, teams should be centered around architectures and integration. Integration focus allows new venture to scale the approach across the distributed teams and sites. We argue that the use of frameworks is among the most common practices because it streamlines the development process by removing the need to implement something that has already been made. Literature mentions that this is one of the most important practices for startup success, especially for those that are in the initial phase, since it allows more time to be invested in the feature development and of the product, reducing the time to market. However, most of the startups adopt their practice in more mature phase. Continuous delivery is also frequently used as it allows for frequent delivery and the customer feedback in short cycles. Backlog development is also a practice frequently mentioned and well described in the Scrum framework. It allows a team to list all desirable features of the product, allowing the development team to keep an up-to-date record of the prioritized features and break in the task to be developed during each iteration. Short release cycles were mentioned by 63% of the startups and is corroborated by a recent large survey of 1526 startups that showed almost the same adaptation percentage for this practice. The same study also corroborates the fact that speed related practices such as short release and continuous delivery are used more often than quality practices such as code review and pair programming. As for version and configuration controls, GitHub 48%, Bitbucket 44% are the most used, followed by GitLab 17%, Subversion 13%, and other tools 10%. Several startups use more than one tool. Only one startup indicated it was not using version and configuration controls. It is worth noting that all version control tools are decentralized, which allows first-class access to all developers. In other words, it is necessary to be a direct contributor to access the versions. Atomicity in changes and an atomic way of merging them are also advantages that helps to maintain the consistency of the project. Besides, preventing the occurrence of errors and outdated code in any of the workstations. Regarding project management, Trello is the most popular tool, adopting by 66% of surveyed startups, followed by Austrian Jira 19% and Redmine 9%. There were several other tools indicated, varying from Google Docs to specified IL project management tools such as Scrum-Half. Testing methodology. Testing is vastly dominated by unit test and such as JUnit and others, including some automation with continuous integrations pipelines like Jenkins. Test methodology is not so advanced, primarily looking to functional testing. Such positive methods aim to ensure that all of the functional requirements of the system are taken care of. Negative testing methods that look to equal equality requirements are not as common. Quality requirements, for example, safety and cybersecurity are typically implicit and are not explicitly specified. For knowledge management, we saw the mention of Atlassian Confluence, Freshdesk Collective Knowledge, and OpenKM. The number of startups that do not use such tools is relatively higher, however. The opportunity to look at the past decisions is more important for making future ones, since they can indicate what was expected of the product and what direction it is currently taking. Customers yet, despite their benefits, there are still many startups that do not adopt such tools. Conclusion. The number of startups is steadily growing. Their practices are mostly IL but not necessarily aligned with, with a sustainable IL method and tool support. Software engineering practices and tools developed originally with the focus of bigger organizations are often too heavy for startups, leading to less systematic way of utilizing them. Often a project is split up into short cycles, which helps to gradually converge onto the result cycles, swing between planning and code prints. While the goal is to keep the cycle short, including a good amount of developers' feedback, while planning allows the distributed teams to adjust and focus. Thank you.